Welcome to TheSeireitei, a Bleach fandom community podcast brought to you by Kukaku Shiba's Fireworks, a guaranteed explosive entry when you crash your neighbor's parties. Literally or figuratively, your choice, honestly. My name is Del, and today I'm joined by Shiki.
Hello.
And a new voice that all of y'all listeners will not have heard before on this podcast, in keeping with the spirit of pulling in members of the community to share their thoughts and their feelings and their love of Bleach. So today we've got Shini here. So Shini, if you wouldn't mind saying hello and introducing yourself a little bit.
Hello everybody, my name is Shini, and I am another big fan of Bleach. Duh, I wouldn't be here otherwise. Surprisingly, I got onto the Bleach fandom after the series has been over, maybe just a little over a year ago. I was watching Naruto first, and sometimes I'd see the previews for Bleach, and then I was like, that looks interesting. And then there was another game that I played. I ran a guild on that, and then he was like, "Oh, you should try Bleach Brave Souls." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, I've seen the anime, seen previews for the anime. Let me check that out."
Oh my gosh, you came to Bleach through Bleach Brave Souls.
Yes.
That's incredible. Oh wow.
So I started playing that. I'm like, wow, I love this already. And now I have 4 accounts. I run 2 guilds. I have the entire series, both anime and manga, and the music. So yeah, I love Bleach.
You are the exact kind of fan Annie Maker loves.
It's so true.
Thank you very much.
You know, Kubo appreciates it for sure. / I hope he does. He better.
He better.
Solid. So we've got 2 episodes to cover today. Episodes 23 and 24, which take us a little bit deeper into the second season of the anime.
Dun, dun, dun.
So let's hit those recaps. Shiki, what do you got?
All right. Starting off with episode 23. After Ganju and his gang unexpectedly abandoned their fight with Ichigo, we return to our quest to find the mysterious Kukaku. Soon, we find our heroes reaching their destination, a house that takes everyone by surprise as it sports 2 large armed statues on either side to hold a banner of the house's name. The surprises don't end there, as Ichigo and his friends are shocked to discover the Kukaku they were seeking was actually a female pyrotechnic
Dun, dun, dun.
whose little brother is none other than Ganju. After Kukaku breaks up a sudden and undecided rematch between Ichigo and Ganju, we learn that she plans to get the gang into the Seireitei through the air by launching them out of a large cannon. Meanwhile, Rukia's execution date is moved ahead of schedule, and she is relocated to a maximum security cell known as the Repentance Palace.
Ooh. That takes us pretty much directly into episode 24, which is called Assemble the 13 Divisions. So in episode 24, having uncovered the location and the identity of Kukaku Shiba, the best pyrotechnic in the Rukon district, Ichigo, Orihime, Uryu, and Chad set about the crucial task of focusing their spiritual energy so that they can use something Kukaku calls a spirit orb and effectively surround themselves with seki shattering matter so that they can bust into the Seireitei. Ichigo struggles real hard at first, but with the unexpected aid of Ganju, finally manages to harness his power. Meanwhile, in the Seireitei, a meeting of the captains of the 13 court guard squads has been called, and here we meet a veritable heck-ton of new and colorful characters, and once again we spend a little time with some familiar faces, including Captain Aizen of Squad 5, the spiky-haired Kenpachi, who tears it up in Squad 11, and the oh-so-helpful, oh-so-unassuming Captain Gin Ichimaru of Squad 3. The meeting is cut short, however, because apparently intruders have somehow breached the Seireitei.
What?
And that's where we're left at the end of episode 24.
Things are starting to get moving, shaking a little bit.
They are. Yeah, these are some really packed episodes. I looked at the summaries initially and I was kind of like, oh yeah, I think I know roughly where we are in the story and this seems pretty much plot driven. But as I was going through again, I was like, oh wow, no, there are a lot of little details to unpack in both of these episodes actually.
Mm-hmm. All right. Can I ask the obvious question that everyone should be asking here?
Yes, please.
If Yoruichi knows Kukaku so well to the point that the buff twins even recognize Yoruichi, why didn't Ganju know Yoruichi?
That's very interesting.
Your cat just meowed. It's perfect. Your cat
Yes,
has
my
opinions
cat.
about
My
Yoruichi.
black cat Kitty. Yes, she's black like Yurichi is, and she loves Yurichi. It's like her role model. She's like teaching her to cause all kinds of, messes and, really make me work for my money with her. And I'm like, yeah, you're just a chip off the old Yurichi, aren't you?
High maintenance cat. I've never thought about that question before, actually. I mean, my instinctive answer is that Ganju, as a younger brother, has been focused on like proving himself or finding his own place and making his own mark on the world or something. And so
basically going around town and being a brat.
Possibly. I mean, we've literally got evidence of him doing exactly that. So
That is a good question. I never really thought about it, but I mean, seeing how Kukaku likes to, keep him in line and, smacks him around and all that stuff. Maybe since she and Yurichi have been friends for a long time, she just wants girl time, so she doesn't want her little troublesome little brother around, so maybe she sends him out on errands or something, or maybe he's just hanging out with his boar riding friends for all we know.
could be. I'm also trying to think, because like I'm the oldest sibling and I have younger brothers also. And like I have friends my brothers don't know about, so maybe it's actually not complicated. Maybe it's just like, oh, Ganju's never met Yoruichi before.
Perhaps.
Yeah, I guess so.
That's a boring answer, but I don't know.
Yeah, that would be a little hard to kind of explain to your brother. Oh yeah, my best friend is a talking black cat.
That's true.
But then again, he does ride a boar, so I guess it's not too unusual in that family.
Yeah, that's a good point. And considering the shape and state of Kukaku's house, or like the one house that we see, considering apparently Kukaku moves a lot for reasons, I don't know how much would be considered odd to Ganju. Like, I imagine Kukaku could do just about anything, and Ganju would go, "Yep, that's my sister."
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Though I can also imagine she instills a pretty healthy amount of fear in him as well.
And she should. She's a literal boss.
So there are a few things that I noticed when rewatching this episode. First, this is probably one of the very first episodes where I realized, nope, not going to watch this when there's a risk of my parents coming in.
Because of the explosions.
Oh, trust me. Young Shiki
Oh,
definitely
God.
had some explosions.
No. Oh, God.
You set that up. You set that one up.
Okay, so you know what? Actually, now that we're going there, I do just want to point out that, like, so actually, you say your thing, and then I'm going to go off about Kukaku and her pronoun and the fact that she has a penetration device, but you go first.
So, since we're going on this tangent, there are a lot of kinky things, whether intentional or not. First, we got Kukaku being well endowed and not afraid to flaunt it.
If you got it, flaunt it.
Yep. But then, who doesn't see Rukia's collar as perfect BDSM play?
I actually had a really different thought about that specifically.
Oh, do tell.
Oh.
Yeah, so simply because I was thinking about the parallel imagery perhaps between the red Soul Reaper ribbons and the red coils that keep her connected to these guards that are ushering her down this walkway. Mm-hmm. So because all of the imagery there, and like I don't think Renji's hair is a part of this, but like maybe even, I mean, Renji's got red in his imagery, and then Rukia is dressed in white. But I don't know what the particular connection is, but I did wonder about whether there is something to do with, like, reducing... Not that Rukia is a threat as a Soul Reaper right now, because she's lost her powers, but the possibility of someone being ushered to the Repentant Cell, maybe they wouldn't be particularly willing to go if they have someone who's, like, a high-level criminal who could be dangerous, if there's something in those coils that impacts Soul Reaper power, possibly through Kido, possibly not. And Rukia, of course, at this point isn't resisting, so we don't get to see it. It was a thought I had. It might be completely nothing, and it might be just, like, me wanting to make connections, and also, like, with red threads of fate connecting people throughout a lot of Chinese and Japanese legendary imagery that I've encountered before.
No, I can see that.
I can definitely see it. Definitely, like, the collar, if you want to look at it in the practical sense of what's probably likely doing in the show, I would imagine it would have to be more than just a means of transporting a person securely. It's definitely more than overglorified handcuffs, because when you go to the Repentance Palace, because you're going to be executed, they are saying that it's, I mean, even Eisen says, this is something that would only be reserved for captain level offenses on a captain. So that stuff has to be strong enough to hold down someone with the power of a captain.
True.
So there has to be some very strong Keto work trying to either limit a Soul Reaper's power or just doing something that no captain can even break out of.
And then the amount of guards might have something to do with it too, because if you paid attention to the caller, there were 4 guards around her, and there were straps of the collar connected to each of the rods that they carried. So I'm wondering, like, if it does do something to suppress the powers, if something happened to one of the guards and it got disconnected, I wonder if
I mean, if I was to write that kind of thing, I would even easily go like lore heavy into it, say like the guards have to pulse Keto through it at a certain frequency or something to counteract the abilities of a Soul Reaper to keep them in a weakened state and suppress their spirit and energy.
Yeah, I could see that. And like I don't feel that this is delving into spoiler territory really, but eventually like we do receive confirmation in canon that there are devices that exist that can inhibit the Reiatsu of a person. And so the idea that this might be
one of those devices
into something. One of those devices for the sake of quote unquote criminal justice. I could see that happening for sure. Not to kink shame though, because if you are into BDSM collars, more power to you, and I do mean that.
I love how we just go from me saying it'd be a perfect BDSM collar for that kind of play into actually serious lore about it.
And then you have
both.
You have Renji seeing her like, oh yeah, my old friend is wearing a BDSM collar. Interesting. I didn't know you were into that kind of stuff, Rukia.
Oh boy, lots of fanfics are going to spawn from this segment, aren't they?
They better. That's a challenge, listeners.
Everyone on the server, this is my official challenge to you. If you're in the NSFW section, make an NSFW smut with that collar. Challenge has been issued.
Oh boy.
The gauntlet is in your hands.
We have literally never sunk so low.
Wow, the first episode I join on and we sink low. Lovely.
Welcome, Shini.
And what a welcome it is.
Speaking of sinking low, did you want to be more specific about what about Kukaku you were talking about before, Shiki?
Okay, so literally it's just like the whole lots of exposed skin. So it's definitely not something I'd want my parents to see. And it's like at that moment I was like, yeah, I'm not watching this show in public. I was already kind of concerned because this was like a really young Shiki who was like, I know they don't like me watching very violent things. I wasn't even allowed to watch Naruto when I was a kid because of the violence, but also because of the sexy jutsu afterwards when my parents found that out. But yeah, it's just one of those things where...
Sexy jutsu is so benign. There's shit on Naruto way weirder than the sexy jutsu.
True that.
All right, well, back to Bleach. Yeah, it's just one of those things like, I love rewatching it. I love Kukaku as a character. She is... Let's just say she's badass. She is powerful, and she is the boss in the room. And I just
truly
I love that about her. She is
bae, she is queen, she is everything.
Yes, and
she's beautiful.
That's all I say.
She'll
I love her.
She could easily be the female mafia leader, and everyone would like cow to her.
Easily, yes, and she would deserve it too. Yeah, which on that note as well, because like as listeners to this podcast will know, I love figuring out how people refer to themselves and how they refer to other people. And I do want to give a huge shout out to the fact that Kukaku uses the first person pronoun ore, which is like Ichigo uses this pronoun, Renji uses this pronoun. It is like, I mean, not necessarily. In some situations, it can be like, I'm an adult man, hello. And in other situations, it's like, what's up? I'm a punk ass. And that's the energy that she is radiating in this situation, I feel. And so, not to circle back around to this too much, but like, God, the more, and maybe this is just like the particular lens that I'm rewatching Bleach with because of like where I am in my life now, as far as things like gender and sexuality go. So looking at this character now who uses this pronoun, who is outside of the Seireitei, so like has connections to this society because we know that her brother was a Soul Reaper, and we know that Ganju hates Soul Reapers. So like the Seireitei is not an unfamiliar thing to the Shibas, right? This person, I can't remember the full name because there are just so many words, but she literally has a Soul Society penetration device. I'm gonna look up the full title, but I clocked that and I was like, no, it can't be. It's too much. Kukaku. And then I thought about her and I went, no, she knows exactly what she's doing. And so I think it's like a really bold choice of words and imagery, and like maybe it is a little bit adult themed, but it's like a really successful fuck you to Soul Society in my opinion, and I applaud her for that.
And it's also with
definitely.
a flowery tool, the flower crane cannon.
Yes!
I'm going to blast through your Seki
Yes.
with my flower crane cannon. Take that, Soul Reapers.
So, Shini, did you have any other like major thoughts or observations about the episode?
Well, I did notice a couple little funny things that kind of amused me. In episode 23, when Ganju's cronies were like, "Boss, we have to go," and then he called Bonnie over, his boar, and then she came charging over. She leapt over Ichigo. I don't know if you noticed, but it actually he lost a few strands of hair thanks to Bonnie jumping over him. So that was kind of funny. And then, of course, Bonnie bowls into Ganju, and then he just goes flying, and he's like, "Way to go, Bonnie." He's like, "Yeah, you do that all the time. I'll praise you for it," type of thing. But I just thought that was kind of funny.
Yeah, Bonnie really is a lovely character.
She even has a bow and everything. Another thing that I kind of noticed during the episode were when they first arrived before Shirogane and Kogane noticed Yorichi. They were saying, "We will not let you pass." And then I just had a flashback to Lord of the Rings and Gandalf saying, "You shall not pass."
Yep.
I'm like, oh, Lord of the Rings references.
Which is
gotta love
scarier, a Balrog or these fuckers? Who knows? Yeah.
Well, considering that they cow to a black cat, I think the Balrog would
It's
be
true.
scarier.
They wouldn't. Yeah, exactly. And then now it turns out that the fools in question are indeed trying to fly so they can, like, penetrate the Seki shell of the... Too many... I'm trying to merge worlds and it ain't happening. Sorry, Tolkien. Didn't mean to do that to you.
Bleach and Lord of the Rings crossover, and then we will have Gandalf saying, "You shall not pass."
One day we'll have a good crossover.
Shout out to the D&D campaign that I'm low-key putting together where I try to translate all of the captain's
Yes.
abilities into D&D mechanics and make my players go through the first arc.
Ooh, that'll be fun.
I know, I'm really excited. It's going to take a long time, but it's going to be great. Before we get too far off-piste again, do we want to go through some of the differences between the anime and the manga in episode 23?
Let's go for it.
Sure, let's do it.
Cool. So, like, there aren't too many. These two episodes were actually both pretty spot on as far as an adaptation of the manga goes. So, there is a conversation that happens in the anime when Uryu, Chad, and Orihime are all trying to figure out who Kukaku Shiba could be, and they all have different ideas, and I think one of them says, like, oh, it's definitely this super wise old hermit, and one person thinks that they're, like, this dope jujitsu master or something, and Orihime, of course, thinks that Kukaku is also a cat.
Like Yorichi.
Yeah. But that discussion doesn't happen in the manga, and so, in particular, and I will say straight up, like, Lethan gave me these notes, and we all know how Lethan feels about manga Orihime versus anime Orihime,
Yes.
and so I'm expressly supposed to say, cue Orihime character rage, which I think is justified, because, Orihime, once again, is maybe not given as much credit as she should for how smart she is and how insightful she is. I think the anime sometimes can gloss over that, and this was one of those instances.
I think they kind of made her more into comedic relief in the anime than actually giving her
think they
more
did, yeah.
credit for what she really is or what she's really been
Yeah, I really
through.
hate using the term, but it really feels like they made her into a bimbo, which doesn't really sit well with me
They
from
did a
what I
little
hear.
bit, which... Yeah, Yeah, actually, on that note, I do want to just, because it did come up with Kukaku earlier, I think I just want to emphasize that while there are a lot of female-presenting and female-identifying folks in Bleach who do have large breasts, I think it's really cool that Kubo, so on the one hand, Kubo has no idea how boobs actually work, because if you've ever tried to, go for a run and you have boobs, you're, inhibited,
yes.
right? So the idea that Kukaku could just be, paying no heed to what her body actually, Kubo doesn't get boob physics, is I guess what I'm saying.
Well, it's
toss
Kubo
that out the
physics.
window. Yes.
Does any male anime creator know how boobs work? Have you seen High School DD or High School of the Dead or any of those anime?
I'm not saying this isn't
boob anime physics.
So,
look it up, people.
Well, you're right. No, it's true. It's such a thing.
It's a thing.
But, I do think that Kubo was subversive in this way because he's created a lot of female characters with big boobs who can do cool, they're, sure, Kukaku has big boobs, but that's not her thing. She is the pyrotechnics master of the Rukon district. And then later in episode 24, we meet another person whose name I don't think we get. We just know that she's the lieutenant of the 10th division. And she, rolls up, deep cleavage, and she is in a position of power, right? So it's taken for granted that if you get to be a lieutenant, you probably can fight. So you've got Kukaku, you've got this probably nameless up to now lieutenant, and you've got Orihime, and they're all actually very strong people, especially if you go back to the source material, which is the manga. So I do want to give Kubo props for drawing physics-defying, big-boobed characters who are more than just their boobs, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's really nice that he gives them a personality.
Personality and power. It's not just just brains or just beauty or just strength or just smarts.
It's a full character.
A dynamic character. Those are the type of characters I like.
Me too. So yeah, that's my thing about anime boobs, I guess.
But then you also have one or two that don't have any boobs, like Rukia. But she's awesome. She doesn't.
That's true.
She doesn't need boobs.
Then the Squad 5 lieutenant, who I think we don't get a name for either. Maybe that person is a little bit.
We do get
more petite.
Renkiku and Momo's names in these ones.
Oh, we did.
Yes,
okay,
yes, we
all
did.
right, good to know.
Yeah. And again, if we're talking about Momo and Rukia not being big busted like some of the other characters, yet we have another woman in a seat of power that shows, it doesn't matter if she's big breasted or not. They could still be in a seat of power and still be powerful woman. So I respect that. I appreciate that.
Yeah, there's a really good diversity in the body figures of the Bleach
There
cast.
really is. It's very exciting, actually. And actually, speaking of body diversity, one of the differences between the anime and the manga had to do with a striking physical detail about Kukaku, which is not her boobs, actually,
Nope.
but the fact that she's missing an arm. And in the anime, we can see that she has, it's sort of like a flesh-colored prosthetic, so it's a little bit difficult to catch if you're not paying attention. But in the manga, she doesn't have this prosthetic arm at all. Her arm ends at the elbow, and it's bandaged. And that's how she chooses to live her life, or that's how she chooses to relax at home. It's hard to say. She might have a prosthetic somewhere else.
That's interesting.
Is it? What do you think about it?
So in general, when I think of people with prosthetics, and I have talked to some, they will choose to use their prosthetics when if they take pride in their body in the way it is and aren't ashamed of the fact that they are missing a limb, they will generally choose not to use a prosthetic unless it's a mandatory thing that they have to use. And it's more of this is who I am, and I'm not ashamed of who I am, and I will live life with the body I have and be damn happy about it.
I respect them for that.
So I wonder if it's something manga Kukaku is we know she's a badass, and it's even more so that way she lost her arm from whatever she lost her arm from, and
I
just
Fireworks.
assume it's an explosion. Gotta be, right?
Yeah, it's and she takes pride in it. She realizes this is part of who she is, and she's gonna own it and be a badass despite it.
I lost my arm being who I am, a pyrotechnician, and I don't care. I'm just gonna go with it. I'm proud of my job. I'm proud of what I do.
Yeah. The only reason I could really see for her potentially making use of a prosthetic, particularly if it's one that's enhanced by keto, now that I think about it, is if she does need to do like a complicated high dexterity task where it would be easier to have another hand. That's the primary situation I can think of where she might choose that. So difficult to say why. And now I'm wondering why the folks that adapted the manga made that choice. But it's a choice that was made.
Yeah, I might get into details later. That'd be interesting to keep an eye on.
Yeah, I feel the same way. So other than that, there aren't too many. Just the storytelling is a little bit more streamlined. So when Rukia is transferred to the Repentance Cell, it kind of all happens in one go. Right after Ganju is introduced, again, the anime splits it up just a little bit more. When Ichigo and Ganju first encounter each other again in the anime, they pretty much destroy.
I love that scene.
Yeah, I know, it's hilarious. They really get going, but Kukaku doesn't let them get very far in the manga. She's like, "Hey, now stop this right away. Like, my house, my rules." And also, I think she doesn't want them to literally destroy her house. She's like, "Nah, bitch, that's my job." Other than that, there are these cute little sketches at the end. There are some little sketches at the end of a lot of chapters of the manga. But in this chapter, it's just little sketches of what Kukaku's other houses have looked like. And they're very sweet. And a lot of them are like variations of arms holding up signs. But one of them is like a whole ass dude like sitting on a house holding up a championship belt. Like, it's a lot. There's one person, like a boy handing a girlfriend or something a letter, and the letter has Kukaku Shiba written on it. It's really creative, and really goofy. That's my favorite little difference, I would say. That's it for this chapter, though. There's not too much.
Going on from that, we have some differences between the sub and the dub as well. So first, going back to the good old drawing of Kukaku when Orihime was trying to figure out or think about what she might look like.
Yes.
In the Japanese version, first question. Who's seen the Japanese and who's seen the English for this one?
I've always seen the subbed.
I've seen both, but I haven't seen the English recently.
Okay. So basically, I'm the only one who watched the English for this episode.
Yep,
yeah.
Basically.
Okay, so as we know, in the Japanese version, when she's doing her redraw or theory of how Kukaku should look like, she's like, "Oh, we should give him a guitar and stuff."
Right. And then Chad's like, "No."
In English, she wants to give him Dalmatian spots.
Oh yeah. In the anime too,
That's wild.
In the anime too, she was like, "Oh, maybe you'll be like a cat or even a Dalmatian." She didn't say anything about the Dalmatian spots, but then Chad says like, "A Dalmatian's a dog or a human."
Yeah, so they played on that even more in the English dub of it, where instead of saying she'll give him a guitar, it'd be Dalmatian spots, which was just...
Oh my gosh.
I don't know. That was a little...
I will say, I think we already know the anime does Orihime dirty, but I think the dub is the worst incarnation of Orihime that I've
definitely
seen. Like, I did not like her one bit when I first watched Bleach, however many years ago, in English all the way through, and then when I started rewatching in Japanese, not even for the podcast, I did a rewatch a little while ago for myself, and I was like shook by how much more I liked Orihime.
I personally prefer the subs because for some reason, I just think they fit the characters more. I mean, the voices, the translation, and everything. I mean, it's more so what the original authors wanted, so it just feels like it's truer to the characters. I've watched sub and dub of several anime, and about 99% of the time, I tend to prefer the sub. And
definitely.
Yep, me too.
That's definitely with the Bleach. I mean, just seeing the previews in English, I'm like, I am not feeling it at all. But with the Japanese voices and everything, I'm like, yes, this is what Bleach should be. At least that's what it is for me.
Yeah, and I do want to say too, like, no shade to the voice actors.
No, not at all.
The English voice actors, because like, dubbing anime is a really difficult job. And I think that these voice actors have brought a lot of heart and energy and excitement to this anime.
Oh, absolutely.
I just happen to prefer... I feel like things get lost in translation. It's more about translation for me than voice acting even.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I'd say so too.
And speaking more of translation losing, we have in the Japanese version when they find Kukaku's house, and right after Ichigo and Uryu just are like, "We aren't gonna step foot in that. That's way too embarrassing." We have in Japanese, Ichigo plays off his embarrassment of Kukaku's house by calling out Uryu's embarrassment instead of like bringing attention to his own. But in English, he just tells Iryu not to let anyone know that he went there, otherwise he'll pay for it.
Oh my god.
So yeah, it just gives a...
Oh, wow.
It gives a really interesting, like... It's not a heavy change in Ichigo's character. It's more of a subtle shift in the kind of personality that Ichigo has.
It's like a shift in the relationship between Ichigo and Uryu as well. Ichigo and Uryu have always been foils for each other anyway, but I'm finding watching the sub this time through, like, I'd never noticed before just how similar they are, and the sub is highlighting that for me like crazy this time around.
They really play off each other really well, I think. And then they act like, oh, I can't really stand this guy or something, but that's probably because of their similarities, and they're like, oh, that isn't some... I see the similarity in you, so yeah, I don't like you because I don't like that about myself, or...
I'm in this picture and I don't like it. Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't like you.
Yeah, and then the final major difference that we have was when they're heading down the stairs, we have the buff twins calling, in Japanese, Yorichi's companions, But in English, he calls them Yorichi's servants.
Oh,
That's
wow.
funny.
I mean, he's not wrong.
Yeah, it's not that far off. And then also in the Japanese version, if I remember correctly, when they called them Yorichi's companions, either Ichigo said or thought, we aren't companions, or something like that. Did he think,
Yeah, I
in
remember that
English,
too.
did he think we're not servants, kind of like he did
Yeah,
in
I think he
Japanese?
made the same comment. I can't quite remember, but yeah, I think he made the same comment.
I think it's funny both ways, quite frankly.
So, is there anything else we want to hit from episode 23 before we move on?
Ganju went for the low blow in his fight with Ichigo.
He did.
He ground it to dust, and I felt it.
Then Chad and Orihime and Uri are just standing there watching it happen.
Ichigo did that to himself. He got into that mess all by his own damn self. Let's be very
Yeah,
clear.
but I'm not saying that Ichigo didn't deserve it, but I'm saying that I did feel it, and I tensed up. It was like, ugh.
Yeah, I felt bad for him. I'm like, ooh, ouch, poor Ichigo.
Yeah.
Right in the safety deposit
He
box.
probably learned it from his sister. On that note, I am going to take us into episode 24, in which a lot of ground was covered and a lot happened. So because we've spent a lot of time talking about Ganju and Kukaku and the Shiba siblings in that encounter already, I think let's actually start off by jumping to Soul Society, because we do get to meet a lot of new characters in this episode. So knowing that we've all seen Bleach before, I'm going to ask a question that I also asked when Byakuya and Renji showed up for the first time. What did both of you think about this initial lineup of captains and lieutenants? What struck you about these first encounters with these new characters, if any?
Well, I would say when I first saw them, I was like, well, this is a different cast of characters here. I mean, you have different sizes, different looks, different personalities. I mean, you walk in there and you know you're just facing a crowd of powerful people. And then, I mean, some seem more menacing than others. I'm not going to call anyone out. I'm Kenpachi and Mary. But, and then, you also had someone like Toshiro, the shorter, white-haired one standing there, but yet he's still a captain. He still has his right to be there. I did love how when Kenpachi and Mary were bickering, Toshiro was saying a bunch of old guy nonsense or something. So that was kind of funny.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, I felt very similar. It's like when you're first introduced to all these captains, barring one Squad 13 captain.
Dale's favorite.
I know nobody here cares about...
Notice how I haven't said anything
nobody
about that
cares
yet?
about Squad 13 captain.
Oh, I beg to differ.
I know.
I'm not taking that bait. I'm not doing it. You've all heard me do that too many times. I'm showing restraint
I'm
today.
just cruising for a bruising, aren't I?
I'll take your place today, Dell.
Yes, you are. You'll get it one of these days. I'm going to take a leaf out of Ganju's book, Shiki.
All right. So like I was saying, for the captains that we did see, we saw a huge, diverse cast. We were introduced to characters that definitely weren't cookie cutter. And you can tell that each one had thought and care placed into them for both their character design and obviously their personalities. And you could also tell just by looking at them, these weren't people that you wanted to mess with.
You wouldn't want to run into them in a dark alley at night.
Yeah, I feel like if you want to see Bleach, like at first when you're first watching it, season 1, you think it's just a nice kind of action-y show, maybe some slice of life here and there. But the moment you see these captains and just how different and how many there are, I believe that is like your real first glimpse into the depth of the Bleach universe and just how deep this rabbit hole will go just by the captains alone.
It's a very diverse and large cast.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a really good point, because I remember when I first watched Bleach, I think a lot of the time when I've said to people like, oh, Bleach is one of my very favorite anime ever, they're always like, oh gosh, but there's so much to keep track of. There are so many episodes. There are so many characters. And I remember when I was watching Bleach for the first time, encountering all of these captains and these lieutenants for the first time. And personally, I while I understand how one could feel overwhelmed by such a big cast, I just felt really excited. I was so stoked to meet all of these people and to learn what they were going to do, especially because, like, I knew I was watching a shonen. I was like, most of you are going to fight, if not all of you. And I am, like, I watched Bleach so quickly the first time I watched it because I just couldn't get enough. And this, rewatching this episode 24 in particular, that's maybe the first time in this rewatch that I've been like, oh yeah, like we're starting to feel like the parts of Bleach that I really love and that really hit me in the heart, finally. And I'm just really excited to keep rewatching because I want more of that all the time.
Yeah, it's like, what it reminded me of recently was when I was playing Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. After you finish that tutorial zone and you just see the entire world open up to you, that's the kind of feeling that it reminded me of.
Yeah, I really like that analogy. Because, I mean, further on in the series, we get to see more of these characters, more of these captains, more of what they do, more of their personality, more of what they believe. So this is kind of like just a glimpse, an opening into these characters which we're going to really grow to know and love, and in some cases maybe hate. You know, it all depends. Everybody has different opinions of people.
Or love to hate, or hate that we love. Absolutely.
And it's definitely one of those things where it's not spoilers here, but I can promise you that there is a good level of attention to the character development for each and every named character here. You're not going to be disappointed, and there's such a wide variety of cast, you're guaranteed to find at least one person that you will find an attachment to and like throughout the entire series.
I don't know a single Bleach fan who doesn't have multiple faves. I think everyone has multiple
We'll
faves.
ask people on the Bleach server, for example, oh, who's your favorite character? Oh, I can't pick just one.
It's always a list. Everyone always gives a list. Yeah.
And with such a big cast, is it really that surprising?
Which actually, Shini, because something that I didn't think to ask you in your introduction, who are your favorite Bleach characters? It's a little out of sequence, but who cares? Let's do it now.
Okay. Well, believe it or not, when I first started watching Bleach, yes, I liked it, but no one really stood out to me. I didn't really think of like, oh, this person's really good looking, or oh, this or that, or I mean, heck, first time I saw Byakuya, I'm like, he's not that, great looking or something like that, but it's just, I know I'm going to have people try to come and kill me now, but that completely changed. I fell in love with a whole lot of the characters. They really grew on me. I mean, Byakuya's one of my favorites. I really like him. I like Rukia. Granted, in the beginning, you don't really see her do much, but I enjoyed seeing her, kind of grow throughout the series, and I just grew to like her more and more the more that I saw her. Same with Byakuya, and definitely Ichigo. I mean, not just because he's the main character, but because you see everything that he goes through, how he handles it, how he grows, how he matures, and what kind of a good person he is. And then I think, I started watching this, and I'm like, yeah, they're good characters, but no one really stands out for me. But now I'm like, yeah, I have like this giant list of people that I love, and I can't imagine. As I'm rewatching it, I'm like, how could I have watched this the first time and kind of been, I mean, I'm like, what was wrong with me?
Thank you for that. That was amazing. I think a lot of people are going to relate to that.
Thank you. I hope so. I'd rather people relate to it than try to come and kill me for my initial thoughts.
Oh, don't worry.
Hey, they got to find you
Yeah,
first.
even if they do, we'll defend
Thank you. I appreciate it.
absolutely opposite forms of encouragement. Yeah, I guess I don't want to spend too much more time on episode 24.
Yeah, there's only one dub difference that I have, so I want to make one quick note on the episode. So the one thing that I really want to bring notice to on this episode is another fact that deals with the scale of the show, in that the lieutenants don't necessarily know the other captains or the other squads in general. And even the squad captains don't know what's going on between each other. Because you have Renji, who doesn't even know that Toshiro was a captain.
And you had Rengiku, who's like, I can't even find my own captain anywhere.
Yeah, it's like, it just shows you that it's just it's just an interesting little tidbit of Soul Reaper society that makes you wonder what exactly they're doing and what kind of organization they are, to where they're not even necessarily keeping tabs on each other, because that can lead to many questions.
Yeah, they're shockingly disorganized. Yeah. And the fact that, too, when you see Renji walking in with this other lieutenant with his sunglasses and his, like, manly man swag.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and they're both... We hadn't gotten a name for him yet, so I didn't want to... But yeah, no, he's... I have a really soft spot in my heart for him, actually, out of nowhere.
I don't even remember if they said his name. Whoops.
So there are a couple of names that we didn't get. So his name is... I feel like at this point, names we can kind of...
Yeah, names aren't really spoilers.
We're going to find them all anyway. So yeah, that's Iba. He's another lieutenant in a squad whose captain I don't think we have too much... That captain I don't think really speaks when we see all the captains assembled. And then I know previously a few folks said Mayuri, and that is the creepy man with the face paint and the... Frankly, I love his speaking voice. I can't get over his speaking voice. I think it's absolutely magnetic.
Mayuri is my number 2 captain.
One of the coolest manga differences, actually, is that the font, at the very least, this is true in the English printing. So I don't know whether there's a different form of kanji and kana that's like shaky or anything like that, but the text actually looks different when Mayuri speaks. It's like... scary font.
Like, fun.
I can't really describe it better than that. But it's just a neat little nuance that was... I wasn't expecting it, and then I read it, and I was like, yep, that's correct. That is how that should be. So anyway, when Renji and the now-named Tetsuzaimon Iba are walking in together, they both remark that they, up to now, haven't been ordered to wear their lieutenant's badges, and, like, I guess... their squad members know who they are, but, like, there's not even... Like, they're given a piece of their uniform in this military organization, and they're not even required to wear it often? That's weird. So there are a lot of rules that are really important to Soul Society, and a lot of rules that you'd think would be important that don't seem to be given the time of day.
Yeah, it really tells you that they're not really interacting with other squads because they don't need to identify themselves to their own squad. Their own squad knows who the captain and lieutenant are. Mm-hmm. And the badges would only be really needed if you're talking to people who might not necessarily know who you are. So that just shows you that there's very little interaction between the squads.
Yeah.
It almost seems like they work in silos. They work on their own.
It does, yeah. Which is also probably why, side note, why it was so strange to Renji when a different captain, because Renji is in the 6th division, as we know, and the captain of the 5th division, Captain Aizen, was like, hey, Renji, I want to talk to you for a second. And Renji was like, what? Because I don't think that kind of thing happens very often.
Yeah, he seemed quite shocked about it. And especially with some of the questions he was asking. It was strange enough he had a different...
He was asking very personal questions.
Yeah, it's bad enough I have a different captain asking me questions, but I have a different captain asking me these type of questions?
Yeah, I'm interested to see... It's going to be worth keeping an eye on the way squad members from different squads interact, actually. I'm excited to see how that unfolds. Mm-hmm. I did only have one little note that kind of calls back to the last episode of the podcast that I wanted to hit about episode 24. Because I know that y'all were previously talking about Ganju's squad addressing him as Aniki, like bro, kinda. And I did want to point out that, so we know that Ganju and Kukaku have this older brother who has passed away. And when Ganju sort of silently addresses the spirit of this brother, or whatever his understanding of that is, given that we're in Soul Society, so the metaphysics might be wonky, but Ganju uses the word Aniki to refer to this person. And so hearing that, I was a little bit like, oh man, is there a part of Ganju that now is stepping into, like, wants to take up the mantle of being older bro of being Aniki to these other people in his life because he lost that in his own life when his own brother died, maybe.
Yeah, I can definitely see that being the case. Just like feeling it's a mantle that he has to step into.
I mean, all he has is his sister, and then so he feels like he has to be kind of like the man in the family or something like that. So he's like,
Yeah,
well, I can't really do that
Yeah,
with
I
my
know.
sister because she beats me around all the time. So I'll be the man to these other guys here since...
Hashtag found family trope. Oh my god. So yeah, that's the last thing that I just wanted to bring up. Other than that, the anime and the manga are pretty darn consistent. There's like a really goofy scene of Ganju playing with a tennis racket before he helps Ichigo focus his spiritual energy, which, oh my god, there are so many things I wanted to talk about, actually. I do want to sidebar again. The bit when Ganju says, draw a circle in your heart as dark and heavy as possible and then dive into it. I was like, if that's not some hollow imagery, I don't know what is, honey. So,
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
I'm gonna need to jump back to that when we go to sub and dub differences, but go on.
Yeah, actually, I think that's it for me. So you can take it away, Shiki.
Okay. There's only one difference in the sub and dub, and it is a crucial difference that I'm not sure how to interpret to even right now. So in the Japanese, Ganju teaches Ichigo how to use the spirit energy. He says, draw a circle in your heart. However, in English, he says, draw a circle in your mind.
Ooh, that is very different.
Indeed.
Do you know which word for heart he uses?
He uses kokoro, so
Okay,
which
cool.
means like the actual heart. But it's just a very interesting difference because you would like if you just look at it on the surface, it's like okay, same kind of ish thing. But when you look at it actually on the deeper, more levels of what does it mean to draw a circle in your heart versus in your mind to access a inner power, we're talking about like heavy philosophical and cultural differences here.
Indeed. Very, very much. I mean, a lot of times you'll hear about the term ki or something like that. That is power that you draw from your heart. So in the Japanese version, that may be in part of what they were referring to was your ki or the power of your heart.
Yeah, definitely.
And then while I guess maybe with other cultures or like maybe the American
like in Western
culture,
where it's more of
your Western
like
ones.
Western magic and stuff,
Yes.
being like more intellect, magic.
Yeah, very
kind of
much
things.
so. Yep.
Yeah, not as much with the emotional aspect as more of your mental or psychological aspect.
Yeah. Oh, cool.
Yeah, I thought that was just like a very interesting and deep choice of the way they wanted to translate it.
It makes you wonder why they would see that as something so pertinent to change.
Yeah, I'd be really interested to like interview the localization team to
That'd
see
be
why
so
they made
cool.
those changes.
A lot of those people are doing like such big, exciting professional work at the moment too. Like some of the names on that team are like absolute. Like I would fangirl so hard, and I would need to have a very strong list of questions prepared ahead of time.
I mean, hey, if we can get big enough to get in guest spots like that.
Oh, that would be awesome.
God, that'll be the day.
Oh, those would be some very fun special episodes.
That would be, hey now, stretch goals.
Come on, guys, share the podcast. Let's get to
Yeah, I
there.
was going to say, sign me up.
We'll see what we can do. Speaking of the real world, what is going on in news surrounding Bleach and all things Kubo adjacent? What have we got for delving into the Dangai?
So, for my Bleach Brave Souls players, we have an
Do we know any of those,
announcement.
by the way? Does anybody know anybody that cares about Bleach Brave Souls?
I think I might know a couple. Yeah, just a couple.
So, we have an exciting announcement for you guys. Bleach Brave Souls has just reached 50 million downloads worldwide, and they are holding a special celebration where they're going to have special login bonuses, power-up sets, and more. So definitely check that out. If you haven't started playing the game yet, get on that. It's a fun game, and I'm sure Shini here can attest to how much enjoyment she has in it, considering she has 4 accounts on the game.
And I run 2 guilds. The first one I took over because the leader wasn't playing as much. The other one I made my own, but yes, I love it. And yes, I'm already taking advantage of the anniversary bonuses. Just saying.
Good. Awesome. You should be. You've earned it.
I kind of need him with that collection I have on there. I take what I can get. We'll just put it that way.
Fair enough. Solid. So, with that having been established, shall we move on to our lovely awards section, our Shinigami Cup Peroxide Edition?
Yes, we shall.
Let's do it.
Beauty.
Okay. So, who wore it best this week for y'all? Shiki, would you like to go first, or should we break tradition?
Let's break tradition. Shini, you're on the hot seat.
Okay, Shini, take it away.
Alrighty. Okay, who wore it best? I had two that I was looking at. I'm like, But I think, in honor of a powerful woman who wear it well, I'm going to say Kukaku and her outfit. I mean, she's got it, she flaunts it, but hey, more power to her, I say. She easily became one of my favorite characters. I will say that one of my more favorite side characters, I guess. Not that she's not important, because she is, but we don't see her as much as we might see some other characters. But I think she deserves this reward. So I mean, she's got it going on.
Yes, totally. I gave her an award for this this particular award as well, actually. Similar, but not the same. I gave her my Who Wore It Best because I think she wears the title of the best pyrotechnic in the Rukongai with such pride and such swag. And I was like, ooh, yes, honey, you do wear it well. So yeah, that's my Who Wore It Best this week.
So for mine, well, you two are giving major respect to arguably the queen of the show, I'm going to have to go a little degenerate on you and go back to my Rukia and her BDSM necklace, now on sale at Urahara Shop.
Why am I not surprised?
We do not kink shame on this podcast. I'm just going to make that completely clear once again.
We're just going to call this the shame episode.
I guess, well, now we have to.
Just
Thank
walking
you,
down the
Shiki.
streets naked while you ring the bell. Shame. Shame.
Unless, of course, we redeem ourselves with our Best Ship award. Maybe. They said so nervously.
Maybe.
Shame.
We're not getting away from this. It's done. It's done and dusted. Oh boy.
Shini.
Shini, what's your best ship?
I am going back to Kukaku. Kukaku's fist or her foot with Ichigo's and Ganju's heads.
Yep.
We saw her punch them and kick them a few times, and every single time I thought it was hilarious. So that is my best ship. So I'm just voting Kukaku all the way.
Del, what about you?
Yeah, I'm going to speak about a different character this time because I was like, ugh, I can't give Kukaku credit for everything, even though I want to and she deserves it. So my best ship this time around was Uryu and the shape of his harnessed spiritual energy that led to like a really good joke about like, oh, it's really narrow. I think that matches his personality. And I think it's a bit of a stretch, but like Uryu and his sense of self and the way it manifests physically, I don't know. I was like, what can I do that isn't Kukaku? And clearly it was difficult.
He's very narrow-minded, I guess. Very set in his ways.
He's a stubborn man. I think he's a Scorpio. I can't remember. I think he's a Scorpio. Anyway. Shiki, what's yours?
So for me, it's the perfect bromance that is Ganju and Ichigo.
Oh.
They may outwardly hate each other, but you know that they would be there for each other in an instant.
That's so sweet.
They were there with each other when they were getting beaten up as well, so there you go.
That's very sweet for you, Shiki. I like that.
I have to be at least a little wholesome every now and then.
That's true. You gotta make up for the tits and the kink, I guess. And then finally, what was everybody's double take moment?
I guess I'll take this away again. Okay, so I had to say it was the fight that Ichigo and Ganju were having inside of Kukaku's house, because they were just going to town. They were just bursting through the doors, and then you had Kogane Hiko or Shirogane Hiko, whoever it was, sitting there kind of like, just when they come flying through the doors, just sitting there like, oh my gosh, what the heck's going on here? And Kukaku's just, standing there smoking her little pipette or whatever, like
Kiseru,
it's no
get
big
it.
deal. And then all of a sudden, it gets knocked out of her hand. And then she starts to seem a little bothered by that. Then comes Ganju stepping on it. And that's when Kukaku breaks. That's when she gathers all that energy in her hand, and that's when the house goes
Loved
boom.
that. Destroy my ceiling, destroy my walls, do not touch my fucking Kiseru, bro. Like, don't do it. Ooh.
I will blow up my own house over that, and then I just love how you saw Uryu and Orihime and Chad and even Yurichi on Orihime's head standing outside there with like these big wide eyes and open mouths like, what just happened?
Iconic moment, truly. Like, that is Kukaku's personality in a nutshell. It's wonderful. My double take moment was super stupid. There's a moment in sort of toward the beginning of episode 23 when so they're trying to find Kukaku's house, right? And Uryu makes a comment that's like, we followed the map, we should be able to figure this out. And he holds up the map and it is blank except for the 4 cardinal directions. And I was like, of course this was a useless map. And it might appear differently in the manga or something. I don't actually know, but I had to go back and look at the map again, and sure enough, it was blank on the streaming service that I used. And I just thought it was really funny and really dumb. So I did, in fact, go back and look again. Hence, double take.
All right, up to you, Shiki, now.
Okay, so I was wholesome for the ship, but unfortunately, I must return to degeneracy to finish this episode off.
Sure, classic.
Yep, shame.
So my double take, obviously, we have the many young boys definitely having their double takes and pause points in this episode. That might have paused for a little while.
Not just boys, but go on.
But to be at least a little appropriate, for me, it was anytime Kukaku was being a badass, because she has an explosive personality that I love.
Yeah, that'll do.
That'll do.
All right.
More props for Kukaku.
Honestly. Cool. So what do you guys have for your fandom shout out for the week? What's caught your attention? What do you think is super cool that's going on in the fandom right now?
Well, I wouldn't say it's necessarily new. I mean, this has been around for a little while, but
Sure.
I recently discovered it. There is this artist called NanFe, NanFe. She does these glorious Bleach art. It looks like the kind of art that I would see at the pop gallery that my sister and I would go to and look at all these beautiful and expensive art.
Oh, cool.
She drew. They even look like paintings. Even it had Ichigo, Rukia, Byakuya, Ukiura, Orihime, Toshiro. I mean, it was. They had some things that I guess could be considered spoilish. So, or like spoilers, so I'm not going to say anything about that.
Fair enough.
But, I mean, there was just so much about it that I loved. I'm like, this person has talent. I could hope to draw or paint like that. Never. I'm like, I need to get myself my own house with one long-ass hallway just to fill with her paintings of Bleach. It's just so beautiful.
I can't wait to check them out. Oh, awesome.
Yeah, you can find her on DeviantArt. You can also find her on Instagram at NanFe 1789, and also on Twitter at capital NAN capital FE 1789. I definitely recommend checking it out. And she does more than just Bleach. I mean, I've seen like Addams Family, Fairies,
cool.
Fae, House Moving Castle. I mean, I definitely recommend checking her out.
Sick.
But just for her Bleach art alone, I fell in love.
Great. And we'll have links to all that for y'all, both in our show notes, and then we'll tag everybody as applicable on Instagram. We'll probably at them on Twitter. So finding these links is going to be perfectly easy for you guys, so don't worry about that. Shiki, what do you have for this week, if anything?
So for me, I had a struggle between 2 cosplayers on Instagram. So I'm just gonna take advantage of this and just promote both of them.
Might as well.
Go for it.
So first, and they're actually both cosplaying the same character. So first we have raavenlith, and she is cosplaying Soifun. share that in the host chat with y'all.
Ooh, cool.
And then we have Little Pig 148 also cosplaying Soifan.
Oh. Oh, wow.
Ooh. That is the manga
Beautiful.
outfit. Oof.
Yes.
Oof, it's like both cosplays are wonderful.
They
Super
look
spot on.
just like Soifan. I mean, if Soifan was right in front of us.
Yeah, these are super,
definitely.
super accurate. Wow, I really applaud that accuracy. That's amazing.
Yeah, so definitely check her out, these two out in the show notes. Definitely worth the follow.
For sure.
I agree.
Oh, cool. I've got an artist this week whose art I recently discovered because a sort of portrait of Urahara rolled up on my dash. And so I clicked on this was on Tumblr. So this is an artist whose Tumblr username is, it's probably roughly pronounced unknwnmeans, but the O in unknown is missing. So it's UNKNWN means, all one word. And I just really, there's a lot of Urahara in here, and there are a lot of other characters as well that could be a little bit spoilery. There are some final arc spoilers in some of this, as far as the Urahara content goes, actually. So if you want to avoid that, don't look at this artist's art, I guess, which is a really terrible thing to say because it's beautiful.
I'd be a little careful with NanFes too, just for maybe like a couple of things, but otherwise.
Cool. Yeah, fair enough. I would say, in fact, a lot of this is kind of spoilery. So I think I'll drop the one image of just like, it's just Urahara on his own, and like he is smoking a cigarette. So if you're not into that, then fair warning. But I just think that there's something really tender about the way that this artist captures Urahara's facial expressions and body language. That's what I responded to first. So I think as I scrolled through more of their art, like they have some final art characters in contemporary clothes, and I'm a total sucker for that. I think I really like their style, but I in particular really like the way they draw Kisuke. So that's unknwnmeans, spelled like I spelled it before, and there'll be links in the show notes and all that. So you can find them for sure on Tumblr, and I think they're on Twitter too. I'll find out.
I do like that picture of Kisuke.
Right? He's so sexy. Ugh.
Hello.
Brains and body, let's go.
It's like, here I am just looking at the face and thinking that they really captured Kisuke, especially if you know his backstory with everything. It's like, I was just looking at that, and then you just go commenting on, damn, he's sexy.
I'm sexy and I know
I feel no shame. You get your let me live. You have your BDSM collar.
Oh, just slow down, Shiki. We already dubbed this the shame episode.
We literally don't have a choice now. This is terrible. So thank God we're coming to the end.
Everybody blame Shiki for this one.
Yeah, you better.
I'll take it all.
Before we totally sign off, I do just want to say again, thank you so much, Shini, for joining us this episode. Is there any last words you want to leave the listeners with for this time? Because you'll come back and you'll be on the podcast again. But for now.
Well, I really thank you for having me come on. I really glad to be here. I'm really a big fan of Bleach, and for all the listeners, I hope that you'll watch the series, you'll read it, and you'll really enjoy it for what it is. Find characters and things that you like about it, and celebrate it. I mean, we know that eventually the anime is coming back, so this is a wonderful time to get into the series and really enjoy it and just celebrate with it. So stick around with us. We'll keep on doing more episodes and everything. So just stick with us and enjoy the ride.
Totally. Sick. Cool. Well, on that truly, truly lovely note, thank you again, Shini. That, you wonderful souls, is the end of another episode. If you liked what you heard and you want to get involved, you can find us by searching for TheSeireitei on Tumblr and Instagram, and TSeireitei on Twitter. Each of these platforms will link you to our fantastically deadly Discord family, where you can chat with us about the show, read fan fiction, take part in creative challenges, and talk anything and everything Bleach. Now, Ichigo and Rukia might reap souls, but as you know by now, we're hoping to reap some 5-star reviews, and that is where you come in. Make like our favorite orange-haired protector, and go to iTunes to rate us and review us, and make us feel like number one.
You know, I'm rating it on iTunes, and this is before I got on the podcast. Thank you very much.
Oh, Shini, thank you! She can't hold down that guard all by herself, though. Please go help her. And for those of you listening on YouTube, Please don't forget to be like Chad and give us that good thumbs up. We really do appreciate it. On the next episode of the podcast, we're going to be covering anime episodes 25, Penetrate the Center with an Enormous Bombshell, I'll say, 26, Formation, the Worst Tag, and episode 27, Release the Death Blow. We'll see you souls then. Till next time, bye!
Bye!
Bye.